Hi there, everyone. This is Sean, and welcome to Questioning Money, a newsletter taking a closer look at how money works and how it affects the world around us. Today, I'm going to talk about the idea of ups and downs in an economy and how the approach by the government and the Federal Reserve has shifted over time in a way that is potentially dangerous. Some of us may be familiar with the idea of business cycles. Business cycles are a natural part of any economy. The idea is that there are periods of expansion in an economy which are then followed by down cycles, or recessions. Traditionally, a business cycle has 4 phases. An expansion is characterized by a period in the economy where there is increasing employment, high economic growth, income levels are rising, and there's an upward pressure on prices. This is then followed by the peak, or the top of the business cycle, which is when an economy is producing at essentially the maximum level of output that it is capable of. In this phase, employment is at or near full employment. After the peak, an economy typically enters into a correction. The reason that a correction is necessary is because economic booms are often fueled through debt and credit. As an economy booms and is in good shape, people feel good and they take out more debt as a result. A point is eventually reached where debt growth gets too high, and in order to pay off the debts, individuals have to start either decreasing spending or by selling off some of their financial assets in order to repay the debts. This starts a feedback loop where, because some people are selling assets in order to pay off their individual debts, the price of those assets starts to fall. This makes it harder for other people to pay their debts, so they sell their financial assets, and so the loop continues. During these periods of financial contraction, growth slows or even reverses. Unemployment increases, and there's no longer an inflationary pressure on consumer goods. Eventually, this reaches a bottom, which is the final phase of the cycle. At this point, the economy is firmly in recession, and the price of a lot of assets has fallen significantly. At the bottom of an economic cycle, poorly run companies fail and go out of business. At the same time, new businesses rise from the ashes and start innovating new ideas. At this point, the general public starts to invest and start taking out debt again. It's often slow at first, but gradually the economic cycle starts anew. It's important to realize that economic cycles are naturally occurring and a good thing. As I just talked about, a very common driver of many economic recessions has to do with debt. It doesn't have to be debt within the entire economy or at the governmental level. The 2008 recession was sparked by debt in the housing market. Bad debts that were never going to be paid back were approved during the boom, and when those bad debts weren't paid back, the housing market collapsed. When an economy is good, people naturally feel more confident and they take out more debt as a result. This leads to a lot of bad debt being approved. When that bad debt can't get paid back, the economy contracts. This is a good thing and it's healthy for the economy. What a recession represents is a clearing of bad debt and a clearing of the poorly run companies from the economy. The problem now is, though, we won't let anyone fail. 2008 marked a turning point. Since the 2008 recession, the economy experienced 11 straight years of growth, even though there have been many clear signs that not everything is okay. What's happened is that there's been a subtle but significant shift in how we manage economic downturn. We've gotten to a point where recession is not okay anymore. We need to do whatever we can to prevent recession at all costs. It's easy to justify when the logic is that we need to keep people employed and we need to continue growth. The thing is, the economy is not supposed to be good all of the time. As an example, with forest fire management, it is best practice not to put out every little forest fire that starts. The reason for this is that small forest fires serve a purpose. When you have a small forest fire, it clears out the fallen leaves, the brush, and other debris that falls from the trees. Small forest fires clear out the junk that starts to accumulate. If you put out every small forest fire, the leaves in the brush never clear out. They build up. Eventually, that accumulation reaches a point that the next time you have a forest fire, it's going to be so big that it's impossible to manage and is incredibly destructive. You need to let small forest fires happen to prevent the giant one. The same is true with recessions in an economy. You need to let small recessions happen to prevent the giant, disastrous one from happening. Even though 2008 was a large recession, we still put out the fire with a bailout. We didn't let the toxic companies fail, and we didn't let the brush burn away. Now we're in a position where we can't let any small forest fires happen anymore. Because if we do, it risks being a mega one, because of all the junk that's accumulated. The Federal Reserve and the government have done a very good job putting out these fires so far. By any account, the coronavirus pandemic should have been the pin that popped the bubble of our zombie economy. But so far the economy is maintaining. It's reached a point where there's just so much bad debt and so many companies that probably have deserved to fail that are staying alive that we can't let any of them fail anymore. If we do, the whole system could collapse. By making the decision in 2008 that some companies were too big to fail, we've reached a point in 2020 where almost everything is too big to fail, or it's going to send us spiraling. So there's not going to be any small recessions anymore. We can't have that. Instead, the Fed and the government are going to continue to put out every small fire, and in the background, the dead leaves and the brush and the debt and the malinvestment are just going to keep accumulating. Recessions are healthy for an economy. They allow the economy to reset, but the way our system works now is that we can't have that anymore. It's gotten too far. We're at a point where we aren't able to have any normal recessions again because we've prevented them from happening when they were supposed to. The next recession we have, the one where we can't put out the fire, is going to be the big one because of everything that's built up. And that is all for this issue of Questioning Money. Thank you for listening. If you like the newsletter, please subscribe so you can get it sent directly by email every Monday. You can find me on Twitter at Sean Cover, and I'll be back next week. Take care, everyone.